Hi guys, wanted to wrap up the year with a huge thank you for trusting WealthLab on your financial journey. Whether you've been growing your investments, planning your dream retirement, or navigating life's financial twists, you are the reason that WealthLab has been doing so well in 2024, and we're here to empower you into 2025. Phil and myself, we are so grateful to be part of your story, and I'm excited with what we've been able to achieve for 2024 and what we're going to be doing for 2025. It's been one of the best stock market years we've had since 2010. We've seen some fantastic client growth. So from Phil's family, from my family, and from the wider WealthLab family to yours, have a magical Christmas, have a great new year, filled with health and happiness, and look forward to seeing you soon. Thanks, guys. Here's to a great 2025. G'day guys, welcome to the WealthLab podcast with Scott and Phil, and we're actually in the same room together. So we decided we'd jump on a call together. We are in Sydney for a change with our new advisor, Dan, who will be joining us in the new year, and we're very excited to have him on board. Yeah. And the two of us are together in a room, so I thought we'd hit record on a podcast. For those who are listening, apologies for the potato level quality on the video. However, we did bring along the podcast mic. So I packed this in my luggage. So for you, dear listener, who are listening, hopefully the audio should be pretty good.
And I mean, our faces probably look a lot better in low def anyway.
I agree. Right.
Yeah.
So let's get to the headlines. So looking back on the last 12 months, it was been interesting because I was looking at our 2023 recapped video.
Oh, yeah.
And I think we have to say, look, the year of 2024 had to be the rise of AI. I think it's been the thing that everyone's talking about. It feels like crypto, but different.
Feels like crypto, but useful.
That's my point.
Yeah.
That's my point. So I think this is maybe what it felt like in 1998, 1999, where people were like, we know the internet's going to change the world. We just don't know how or what.
But that one bloke thought we'd also be using fax machines.
Yeah, that was it. Yeah, but I remember seeing a thing which was saying less than 1% of ChatGPT users are paying for the service.
Yeah, I reckon that makes sense.
So that's going to be the rise of 2025. It'll be AI service providers monetizing monetizing you.
How far can they push it before we don't hit the download button?
Prepare for your wallet to be reached into. So that's coming. That's what I see for 2025. Phil, property market. That's what you're thinking about.
Mate, I think it's going to be an ongoing shit show well beyond 2025. Yeah, I don't know how much more needs to be said on that. Really, there's probably no. There's no end in sight. It'll be interesting to see. I don't know what happens if we have an election and if we end up with a Liberal government at some point. What happens with this accessing your super to buy property? I'm still waiting for someone to explain to me how you solve the supply problem by stimulating demand. It's an interesting concept, but
to clarify what that means. Yeah, I know. So
what that means is we don't have enough houses, so trying to make people buy more houses isn't going to help.
I'm with you.
Yeah, so mate, I think I reckon we'll be sitting here at the same time next year, still talking about inflated property prices and no real solution in sight. Just can't build them quick enough until they start rolling some builders back out of some of these government infrastructure projects and stuff that are rolling on. Where are they getting the people from anyway?
Well, I mean, the only thing I can say is that coming from those people who are in Victoria and my fellow Melburnians, we have seen property prices go backwards. This was one of the first times in more than a decade where Victoria's gone backwards, and certainly this generation of property investors haven't experienced that feeling before.
Yeah.
Now, I don't think it's actually really impacted people too much. They've just been a bit grumpy. So we haven't certainly seen many forced sales.
It's impacted everyone in my neck of the woods because you've all moved up there.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. So we might see that if we think of the tides of people, post-COVID, people left the cities. Maybe there might be some season change moving back into the CBD environment.
Actually, it was funny because where was I? It was a local IGA it was the other day, and there was a bloke there, and he was, I just moved up here a little while ago. Bloody most boring place on earth. I'm going back. I wonder how much of that's going to happen. Well, it's true. There's literally nothing there. You can't leave your city and expect to move to a city. It was quite funny.
That's a quick way to enamor yourself with the locals. Just criticise it in the IGA.
It was pretty funny.
Pro tip: don't ever say that in any IGA ever.
Yeah, it was amusing, but it does raise a point. I was talking to a real estate agent a while ago, actually, that worked out of Coolum up on the Sunshine Coast, which is a reasonably popular spot.
Yep.
But he was saying it's super common, actually, and not just a COVID thing. They've seen it for years where they get people to move from Sydney or Melbourne or even Brisbane, big city, move up there and then realise that actually this is a tiny town that has nothing and I'm bored to tears. And yeah, it was cool to come here for 2 weeks for a holiday, but kind of actually sucks living here. Which depends what you're looking for. I'm sure that's not everyone. But
I disagree because we talk to our clients. They're so I want to retire, and I want to have my feet in the sand. I want to have the grandkids at the blah blah blah. At the holiday house, whatever it is, right? I think maybe you just need to be a bit more cognizant about what your future looks like around.
Yeah, probably. And look, I mean, this is just one bloke telling a story, and it's probably a very small percentage of people. But
let's keep this IGA guy yelling continuing, shall we?
it was pretty funny.
Sorry, guys, we're going to try to rapid fire through this because this is the wrapped one, and I want to get through a little bit. So the rising trends that I've noted down for 25 will be the rise further of renewable energy. I think. These coal-fired power plants just falling apart. What we're going to do is we're going to dribble along for like 2 or 3 years, and then there's going to be a big switch. So if you look at the Adelaide electric market, so that energy produced is almost majority renewables. Yeah. So if you got it's the AEOMO, I think Australian Energy Meter Ombudsman or something like that, you can actually see the mix of coal versus like petrol versus gas versus wind versus electricity versus other, and you'll see it fluctuate during the day. When the sun comes out, obviously solar takes up a higher point, and then at sort of afternoon, evenings, you've got coal or whatever else that that's getting burned at that point in time. But then you go to the South Australian energy grid, and that grid is predominantly renewables. Yeah, so even with the with the rise of air conditioning in every single house, that's a model that I think the Eastern Seaboard certainly needs to follow. So it's one of those things that dribbles along until all of a sudden, we're 100% on renewables, and that's coming. It will come. It'll be painful, but I think if you can do it, if you can afford it, I think solar is one of the best things you can do because it means the government can't keep jacking up your electricity prices, and you get to control. You get to take some control back over what you're being charged on your electricity bills.
What do you think about all the stuff that was in the news last week about Peter Dutton's nuclear solar killer?
What's your thoughts on that, Phil?
Oh, mate, I've got no opinion. I've got no idea. I was just sort of, you were the first person I thought of when I
No, I love this thing. So look, the summary from that, here's another hot take for the morning is, look, energy is incredibly important. You need an energy mix. So hydro, wind, solar, geothermal, whatever else you can get rolling. Nuclear energy is super clean, super effective, super safe, asterisk, unbelievably expensive to build. And we actually don't have the thought capital in Australia to do it. So yes, we have the uranium. Yes, we have the raw products, and yes, we could buy the plans off the shelf. What are these reactors are called? Something 3 reactors. They're called Gen 3 something reactors that Dutton's rapping on about. You could buy them off the shelf, and the Australian government has a great track record of getting things on time and on budget. So let's assume that they could actually do that on time and on budget. The problem is the thought capital of the individual people to actually maintain and run them. We don't have a university that has like nuclear energy maintenance or nuclear energy. We just don't have that. There's not the universities behind it. And if you think of like the big coal producing areas, they have like an infrastructure of like TAFE and workers that are coming through training programs to maintain and run those power factories. We actually don't have those staff. We don't have the people. Yeah, right. And that's actually where it falls over in year 6 when all the consultants have left and gone back home.
Yeah.
So
you're the right person to ask.
It makes sense to put it in a nuclear submarine. It makes sense to put it in because we're buying those things off the shelf, right? So we've got these American submarines. Fine, okay, they've built it. We fill it full of Australian uranium. But all I'm saying is that if you can do it, I think it's one of the most satisfying things you can do is from a future planning thing, which is yes, you got to eat the frog now, pay for the solar, pay for that, but it's such a good investment in your future because you basically offset future rises in energy. So people, whatever they're saying today, this is what it costs per kilowatt. Well, in the future, I don't really care because at 4:00 in the afternoon, I'm generating my own power.
Yeah, fair enough.
Phil, what did you learn last year? Looking back at past 2024.
I learned. That's a good question.
About financial planning.
Yeah, I think, and look, this is nothing new, so this is going to be an incredibly boring answer to your question. And it's maybe not necessarily what I've learned, but what I've really seen some good cases of the power of is just good old-fashioned budgeting and planning your cash flow.
Jesus, we are literally hearing people switch off their podcasts right now. Please hang by, please. Yeah. Come on, we've got something juicy at the end, we promise. Tell us more about a good budget feel. I'm all ears.
I don't want to get into all that. I think we've talked about it enough. But like the power of it and what I've seen, like with some of the clients I've been working with lately, you know, I've got some really young clients that are in really unbelievably strong positions, much stronger than some, you know, significantly older people that I deal with. You know, mortgages nearly paid off, hefty amounts of savings, on track for like a really early retirement, and not earning significant incomes. It's just purely the power of good, solid cash flow management. And seeing that in practice in a few different cases, and how many doors that then unlocks us to give them strategic advice because they've got cash flow available to do it and the discipline to stick to the plan. It's just like, for me, that's really hammered home the point this year. You know, it's something we've always spoken about, believed in, whatever, but I've seen some really good cases of it in action, some really good, smart.
What do they do?
Switched on.
Have you got any specifics?
Just the basics, having a good handle of what your outgoings are, making sure they don't exceed your incomings. It's like, it's not rocket science, but it's hard. It's a simple thing to understand. It's a difficult thing to do. We're all victims of spending too much money from time to time, seeing that dumb thing that you don't need that you're going to buy anyway. So it's the discipline, I think, that's the difference.
Do I need this or do I want this?
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah. And if it is a want and not a need, what are the impacts? What's that going to do to me, and do I care? Yeah. But yeah, for me, I've seen some awesome examples this year, and it's been a really cool thing.
But Phil, I want the Gulf Stream flying me to New Zealand to Peter Thiel's bunker when the nuclear energy crisis kicks off and we get a potential nuclear war coming from Russia.
Sure, go nuts.
For context, there's a rise of billionaires buying bunkers in New Zealand. So predominantly tech billionaires. Yeah, okay, I'd say the best lessons that I've learned this year is the increase of data, and obviously the importance of data security. I think we just need to be in some ways at ease with the fact that all our shit is going to be on the internet.
This is not is going to be, is already.
It's all there. It's like literally. So I forget what there's like some saying, but it's like if something is supposed to be secure, there's like, you know, XYZ law guarantees this will be on the internet within X number of years. So I think I don't know if this is a good thing or not, but just don't be precious that your shit's going to get stolen. I mean, this is you know, the Optus thing was massive, the Medibank thing was massive, but there's so many more little bits and pieces out there. I have signed up for basically a credit watch app that the Commonwealth Bank provides it. What's it called? I forget what it's called, but we'll put it in the show notes. So basically, if you just Google credit watch, you have the ability to receive an email when anything ever hits your credit file. So I know a lot of people are really worried about, well, you know, if someone steals my identity, what's going to happen? Well, the things they can do is set up credit cards in your name and spend money, and then you get in trouble for that. The quickest way you can have hold on that is get an email from these providers every time a credit thing, a credit inquiry pings on your file, you get an email.
Yep.
So do that. So that would be, you know, making sure that, okay, look, you know, XYZ company lost my data. I now at least have a handle on where my driver's license is. Yep. I know what the unique number is. I can change that when I need to, and I get emailed if there is it. And you know, have I been PWND? Have I been pawned? I get emails from them on a fairly regular basis. On if I have my email address, my personal email address is then shown in a new data breach as well. Yep. So okay, so there's another data breach in XYZ. So making sure that, you know what, I'm on a rant. I've got one more. Again, it's Christmas time. Talk to your mum and dad about passwords and getting better passwords. It's happening less and less and less. But if you're one of the clients, I say this with love, that has a password that you just try and remember, you are like just the chances of you having one password compromised and all of a sudden everything else being accessed. I mean, if you're using Smith Street 123456, and then you say, well, it's actually Smith Street *47, like someone can figure that out because they've just got that first name and that string, a brute force AI bot will will just go, give me 300 versions of this, and your password will get compromised. Talk to your parents about using the Google Chrome password manager, and then so what I do is I just go Google generate new password into Google. I think LastPass pops up first, and it just gives me a unique password. I copy that into the password, and then it's individually watertight. Is that you do the same thing?
Yeah, I do, mate. Yeah, I used to. The classic is the same. The variation of the same thing everywhere.
We all did.
It's popped up on a bunch of data breach lists. I've changed all my passwords. They're all completely random and unique. I couldn't tell you what any of them are off the top of my head.
You shouldn't be able to.
No.
And this is the meme of like when we were 7 years old, I thought we'd be on fire a lot more because there was a lot of stop, drop, and roll drills.
Yeah.
But there wasn't that many of like, hey, passwords are going to be a real problem for you when you're later in life.
Yeah, but there's a lot of stuff going around. So like my MyGov account just got locked a couple of weeks ago because somebody had been trying to hack it. They tried to log in that many times, and I kept getting email notifications. Someone's trying to log into your MyGov. Is this you? I just kind of ignored it until eventually the account got locked. But that was an exact case. That was something that I had used, that same password I'd used everywhere else on that account. And it's only that I'd randomly changed everything when it got caught in a data breach that they weren't able to get in.
And the two-factor authentication, sit with your parents. They're going to hate it, but just be like, look, I want your super when you die. This is the joke, friends. You can make the joke, make them laugh, and be like, it's so important you don't lose it, mum and dad. So what we're going to do is you're just going to get a text message or an authenticator app every time you log into the bank, and they'll resistance to change, but Jesus, that's important. So that's something that I have made peace and learned for the last 24.
Actually, just while I'm talking about MyGov too, watch that one because there is a really good clone login page getting around, and it looks exactly like the real thing. Check the URL. Don't enter in anything that you follow from a leak. Jesus. I do know of people that have been caught by it. They've logged in. Somebody's captured their password. They've then gone in and changed payment details and intercepted tax returns or intercepted settling payments. So be careful because it's a bloody good-looking clone page. You wouldn't tell it. If you had the two next to each other, they'd look identical. So if you're ever going to MyGov, type it into the browser. Don't ever follow a link from anywhere.
Really?
Yeah, there you go.
All right, well, look ahead. Jeez, that's a bit of a down one.
Yep.
I've got new risks here for 25, but shall we say
one?
Things we're looking forward to. I mean, we've had the best asset price movement since really 2010. So if you're a client of ours, you have enjoyed that. And the way that I've been talking to my clients, I don't know what you feel, is I've said, the way that we structure our portfolios is they're set up in a way that we basically throw the sales out and we have the spinnaker running. And if you have a portfolio with us, if there is the winds of growth, which has been the last 12 months, your portfolio is going to capture this. Fine. Yeah. Okay. Here, if you listen to this, I literally look like a sailor. I have this like outrageous. We have our Christmas party this afternoon, and I've gone with somewhat of a comedy T-shirt. Hopefully it's in the thumbnail, but I look ridiculous, and I'm going to stick with this analogy. Basically, we capture the wins when things are running hot. That's the purpose of the positioning of portfolios, and it has been a spectacular year. Things are not going to be like this next year. We don't have a crystal ball. It's broken fairly recently, unfortunately. Would have been nice. But for next year, the portfolio structure is unchanged. We're still very happy with it. Managers we are looking at internally, but so that's what we're going to be doing. We're going to be making some changes internally with it, but overall, very happy with the performance. Certainly looking at the 1 year and the 5 year numbers.
But I've just been telling people, like, yes, we've had a couple of years now of double-digit returns and significantly double-digit returns. You've just got to remember that this is where we're banking the extra for the negatives that will come, and they will come. It's just part of investing. You're going to have negative years. You just got to enjoy the good times where you got them and remember the good times when you're in a bit of a bad time. But again, we're here for those conversations.
So, mate, what's your goals for the podcast for 2025?
Goals for the podcast? Nice to have a few people listen.
So I'd like to host a guest. So if you have someone in your world that you think, geez, this guy should be chatting to, let us know. We want to bring some guests on that we like. I'm not really happy with having random product providers coming to us pushing their product into your ears. And potentially eyeballs if you're listening to this. But I think some friends of the podcast, we can bring them on. Yeah. Maybe some other advisors, maybe some people who are in a complementary industry and see what they're doing and what they're struggling with.
Yeah, I like that.
So, look, Christmas is around the corner. Thank you. Thank you for listening. If you're a client, thank you for being a client. If you're considering joining, do it next year because we are about to close up shop for the next 2 weeks. Yeah. So that's all. Gratitude. Thank you, guys. And Phil,
Yeah, awesome, mate. It's been a great year. Just echo your sentiments. Really, thanks for listening and thanks for being clients. It's been good. It's been a great year. It's been a huge year. I'm definitely looking forward to having a couple of weeks to let my head stop spinning and rip back in for a huge 2025.
Thanks, guys. Have a great Christmas. We'll see you next year.
Cheers. Thanks, guys.